Top 10 star believes Coco Gauff is underrated in some weird way. Andrea Petkovic dropped an interesting take on just how good Coco Gauff is, as the 2014 French Open semifinalist believes the reigning French Open champion is actually underrated. On Tennis Channel's The Big T podcast, Petkovic, Coco Vandeweghe, and Brad Gilbert were discussing whether Victoria Mboko had a higher ceiling than Gauff. At 21 years old, Gauff is a two-time Grand Slam champion, a one-time WTA Finals champion, has overall 10 titles in her collection, and has been ranked as high as number 2 in the world. On the other side, 19-year-old Mboko, who won last week's Qatar Open in Doha to secure her second WTA 1000 win, has 3 titles in her collection. By winning Doha, the Canadian, who was ranked outside the top 300 at the start of 2025, now sits at number 10 in the world. While Mboko has done some outstanding things over the past half a year, Petkovic refused to place the Canadian on the same level as Gauff, who in her opinion has one of the strongest champions' minds. Also, the German former world number 9 recalled losing to the American in 2019 Linz and thinking that the then 15-year-old was a generational talent. Petkovic, in a weird way, Gauff is underrated. I think Coco Gauff has one of the strongest champions' minds I have ever seen in a player being that young, with some flaws in her game, but always competing, the 2014 French Open semifinalist said. For me, Coco is somehow underrated even though she shouldn't have been. I don't know if you agree, but in a weird way, I feel like she's underrated. I played her when she was 15 and right away I thought to myself, this is a generational talent. I lost to Coco when she was 15 years old, and she won her first title. Gauff may have struggled with her consistency throughout her career, but that doesn't change the fact that she has achieved major success at a young age. Coco Gauff, the underrated titan, a creative exploration. In the swirling cosmos of professional tennis, where champions are charted and legacies weighed on the scales of Grand Slams and headline reels, few stars burn as brightly and quietly as Coco Gauff. At just 21 years old, the American phenom has accomplished feats that most players never realize in an entire career: 2 Grand Slam titles, decades of experience at the sport's highest stages, and a blend of athletic brilliance and personal poise that seems almost supernatural given her youth. Yet, in a curious twist of perception, some seasoned observers believe Gauff is still underrated in some weird way, not in spite of her achievements, but somehow because of them. This was the striking assertion of former WTA top 10 star Andrea Petkovic, who noted that Gauff's tennis is somehow underappreciated by both media narratives and some parts of the tennis community. Her reasoning? That even with 2 majors, an elite ranking, and a bright future, the full magnitude of what Gauff brings to the court, and perhaps what she will become, is not fully recognized. What it means to be underrated in tennis. To understand what Petkovic meant by underrated, we must first revisit the nature of perception in sport. Tennis is not just about raw numbers, titles, rankings, win-loss records, but about narrative arcs, personality myths, public expectation, and moments of undeniable presence. A player is considered underrated when the sum of their impact, on-court brilliance, mental fortitude, style, cultural significance, outweighs how audiences talk about them. For Gauff, this discrepancy arises because her trajectory has always been exceptional, yet her evolution feels too seamless to elicit that dramatic underdog breakthrough narrative the media often craves. From amazing leaps as a teenager, famously becoming the youngest Wimbledon qualifier in the Open era at age 15, to stellar performances at majors, she has refused the classic arc of obscurity. 2. The story of a prodigy, not just talent, but a champion's mind. Part of the reason Gauff might be viewed as underrated is that many fans and analysts fixate on technical skills and highlight reel moments. What Petkovic emphasized, though, is something deeper: Gauff's champion's mind. According to her, even though the American has flaws in her game, what sets her apart is a relentlessness and competitive spirit, a mental toughness rarely found in players so young. This strength is clear when we consider her Grand Slam wins. The French Open title she captured recently, overcoming the world number 1 in a final, wasn't just a victory of skill, but of mettle. What makes Gauff unique is that she does not only win matches when she is playing low-error tennis. She wins when she pushes through adversity, when she fights, and when she constructs paths to victory others might abandon. It's this combination, elite athleticism paired with psychological resilience, that makes her both feared by opponents and, paradoxically, underrated by some commentators who reduce her game to rankings or superficial metrics. 3. A player beyond the numbers. Gauff's so-called underrated nature comes from her challenge to traditional tennis storytelling. She does not fit neatly into easy labels. She's not a raw power hitter only. She's not just a young star. She's not a flash-in-the-pan wunderkind. Instead, she embodies a multifaceted game. Speed and defense. Gauff moves with a relentless court coverage that frustrates even the best baseliners. Poise under pressure. She saves points, rebounds from setbacks, and plays intelligent tennis rather than just forceful tennis. Strategic versatility. Against different opponents, she adapts, blending defense, rally construction, and then timely offensive wickets. And yet, the tennis world often elevates others, like players with flamboyant styles or narratives of dramatic reinvention, into the conventional spotlight, while Gauff's steady excellence doesn't always trigger the same kind of uproar. 4. The curious case of underrated. Does it even fit? It's worth asking, is Gauff really underrated if she is widely considered a top-level player with 2 Grand Slams and significant media coverage? The answer is both yes and no. On one hand, she is celebrated, adored by fans, recognized by peers, and firmly established among the elite. On the other, she doesn't always receive the language of reverence that other figures, with flashier branding or dramatic career arcs, command. Some pundits compare her to contemporaries or future talents rather than the historic giants she is rapidly approaching in achievement and influence. This discrepancy underscores a deeper tension in the way sport is consumed. We often celebrate raw narratives, comebacks, reinvention, uniqueness, sometimes at the expense of recognizing relentless consistency and quiet brilliance. Gauff's career defies a single archetype. She is not a temporary sensation, nor a one-time wonder. She is a foundational force. Beyond the court, cultural resonance. Gauff's impact is not limited to tennis statistics. Her voice resonates with younger generations through social media, public activism, and personal expression. She has been open about vulnerability, about the pressures of being looked at as a role model, and about the emotional journeys entwined with competitive sport. This cultural resonance, her ability to speak authentically about vulnerability and strength, is another reason she might be seen as underrated. Sports culture still often